All systems nominal.
それでは早速全速前進
You don't know what the weak point of a mech is? The fucking pilot.
Get away from her, you bitch!
His papers say he was a raven.
Protocol 3.
A pattern blue!
Welcome to On the Shoulders of Giants, a giant robot power hour discussing mechs across media, their stories, and why we love them. I'm Alice, and I'm joined by Brian.
I know we've litigated this on the show before, but I just want to reaffirm for the class today that VTubers are mechs, and they do have the potential for great evil.
And Nico.
To prevent mass casualties in a mech-enabled future, we must abolish high school.
This time around, we're discussing a little bit of Gundam, a little bit of Top Gun, and a lot of animation budget. Macross Plus. Let's launch into it.
一つ目の言葉は夢眠りの中から胸の奥の暗闇をそっと連れ出すの
So I thought it was time that we finally talk about one of the icons of the mecha genre, Macross, and what better place to start than with the Macross OVA series. So Macross Plus was produced in 1994 by Triangle Staff. Triangle Staff was a spin-off of Madhouse, of former Madhouse staff animators who spun out and created their own little studio, most known for Serial Experiments Lane, Neen 7, and Macross Plus, and pretty much nothing else. I do want to shout, okay, in the research for this, I was looking at what Triangle Staff had done. And so Triangle Staff only really existed for about 5 years. They shut down in 2000. But they also created the other one that they're known for is Colorful.
I was reading about Studio New or Nue. Is that a different
Studio
team?
Nue assisted, yes.
Okay, gotcha.
So, but what really brings us to Macross Plus is a little guy named Shoji Kawamori, who directed this.
The father.
Kawamori is known for Macross, Escaflowne, Hisone Tommaso Tan, and maybe something else. I don't know.
Eureka 7.
Yeah.
I want to say another thing off the top, which is that I have read, I have surmised recently that there is fandom discourse on how to pronounce the word Macross, and I just want everybody listening to know that we don't care about that. We're gonna say it. We're gonna say it however the fuck we want. Okay, just.
Have you heard the way we pronounce other shit? Like,
have you heard the way Alice pronounces other shit?
Listen, I was trying to homogenize the blame, but.
Oh, okay.
Hey, listeners, half the time it's a bit, half the time I actually don't know how anything is pronounced, and I don't know.
Yeah, well,
up to you to decide.
We love her anyway.
Anyway.
A couple of other production notes that I really want to shout out is the screenplay to Macross Plus was also co-written by Kiko Nobumoto, who passed away early in December 2021 before the release of the Macross Plus the movie re-release. She helped to write Cowboy Bebop, Wolf's Rain, and Tokyo Godfathers.
Damn,
so,
okay.
Real got some fists on the story part of it.
Yeah.
A lot of Bebop people were involved in this from Cowboy Bebop. Most notably, the composer Yoko Kanno.
Let's go! I
behind
was
the
losing
music
my
for
mind.
this.
So fucking good.
So you really had three real titans in this genre space come together for what is a visually stunning experience. This is a 4-episode OVA. Each is 38 minutes long for a little over a 2-hour runtime if you cut out the intro and the exit. It has been re-released as a movie altogether. I preferred it in its OVA form, but mileage may vary. I forced all of these two to watch the OVA as it was originally produced. This is part of the Macross franchise, kind of 30 years after the Armistice Agreement, kind of right in the middle of a lot of things. but standalone in its own right. While we do have Macross City and Macross Lake and everything like that, it is kind of its own thing. You really don't need to know the rest of Macross to get what's going on here. What did you guys know about Macross Plus before we watched it, Brian?
Nothing, actually. Like, pretty much literally nothing. This is one of the ones that just totally escaped my entire radar. I like literally don't know if I'd ever seen any Macross material whatsoever, like in any context before I watched this. I was gobsmacked. I was super surprised. I had a shockingly good time with this.
Did you know anything about the Macross franchise besides the discourse around it?
I knew that there was a podcast called, there's a Macross podcast.
Yes.
It's called Dude, You Remember Macross. That's what it's called. I knew about that podcast,
name.
and I had heard the name, and I had also obviously heard Robotech. That's what it was called in North America forever.
Okay.
And then, I obviously knew that there was some degree to which this was in the DNA of Transformers, but I had not seen like anything.
Nice. What about you, Nico?
The only thing I knew about Macross at all was there's a musical performer or producer named Macross 82 to 99 who has a credit on the song Selfish High Heels, which is a rework of a city pop song called Dress Down. That's what I knew about Macross.
Hearing about Macross from a song about clothes is so good.
So real.
It's
so
a good
real.
ass fucking song.
They're a good ass music producer.
Yeah.
So let me give you a synopsis of this OVA. This is both the actual description and then I tagged on a little ending because I wanted it to be all encompassing, and we can get into the nitty gritty. The year is 2040, and the galaxy is flourishing with several colonies and advanced technology. AI is near perfection, and the current top idol is the near-completed Vitoroid idol, Sharon Apple. All that is missing are her actual feelings, which instead are supplied by Myung Fang Lone. Sharon's debut concert is on Planet Eden, where at the same time, fighter pilots Isamu Dyson and Gold Bowman battle over air superiority for the Supernova project. Isamu, Gold, and Myung were once childhood friends, but after an accident 7 years ago, they went their own separate ways. With Myung back in the picture, and old disputes are once again awakened. And when an unstable and illegal AI technique is installed in Sharon, the situation is worsened. With a stunning concert/showdown at the end, this love triangle is sure to have a pioneering ending.
Oh my god.
Let's head to the break.
Hey, Nico here in the break. Just wanted to let you know that while this is a podcast, and we'll always do our best to describe visuals we're commenting on, we'll also include links to the mechs and images we discuss in the show notes, and post actual photos on our show website. Along with that, make sure to check the show notes for content warnings as appropriate to the episode. That's all for now. Back to the show.
So, first thing this episode starts off with is the music, which we're going to have to talk about because Macross is as much about the music as it is the mecha.
I consistently tits blown clean off by the music in this. I knew it was Yoko Kanno, like, when the first concert was happening. It shocked me into reality. And of course, that's obvious, right? Because Shinichiro Watanabe also worked on this. And so, like, I feel like they're kind of, their paths continually cross, and every time they do, something really fucking cool is made. And so that was awesome. I don't know, how did you guys feel about the music? I feel like I'm way hotter on this than either of you two are.
Okay. I fucking love the music in this. I fucking love all of Macross's music, but the music in this is so fucking iconic that I'm just like, every time I hear it, like, there are even the background music is just fucking banger. But I just love, it's such a conceptual music, and it sets such a tone every time in every Macross. But this one in particular, I'm like, This is that Showa era ballad that I fucking love.
I've been listening to the OST of this. Like,
it's good.
I did have a question. Was any of this music re-recorded for the dub? Do we know?
No.
Okay, that explains it. Okay,
So-
I watched the dub for once.
yeah, oh, okay. So you know what Bryan Cranston sounded like as Isamu Tyson.
Absolutely.
Gonna need you to expand on that one for the audience so that they can know that this is a real thing that really
Bryan
happened.
Cranston.
You didn't? Wait, you didn't know?
No,
Bruh,
I don't know actors.
I went to like find, because okay, another thing I'm just gonna say off the top here is that I have realized something about my life, which is that Eureka 7 is a 50-episode love letter to this specific thing that I just watched. And so I was looking for other things that that like synced up, and really Shoji Kawamori is the only connection. But in doing that, I found out that in the dub, Isamu is voiced by Walter White.
Gold, we have to cook.
Wait, I have to absolutely know if he recorded this while they were doing Malcolm in the Middle.
Did he?
No, this is right
damn.
before Malcolm in the Middle. Damn it.
He was bringing that Macross energy into Malcolm in the Middle. Macross in the Middle.
Macross
Obviously
in the
music.
middle.
No, I decided to watch the dub for two reasons. One, I was multitasking on a spreadsheet. But two, I also I never listened to the dub. And especially like these older ones, I was thinking a lot about how like Bryan has like emotional connections to certain dub performances. I got into anime kind of later in my childhood, and I was snobbish, right? And so I was like, I only want to watch it in the Japanese. So I have like no connections to like iconic dub performances of various anime that were like formative for people my age who like anime. And so I was like, you know what? This seems like one I should watch the dub, just see what it is. It's incredibly like 90s, 2000s kind of dub. It's there's a certain energy to it, but I did not realize fucking Bryan Cranston. That's so funny.
So let's just, I want to speak specifically about the music and the main track, voices. So Voices is sung by Miyu, but the main song Voices, and a lot of the other ones, contains multiple different languages. These aren't translated or anything. I mean, in the subtitles they're translated, but this contains English, French, Japanese, and Zentradi. What's Zentradi? Thanks for asking. That's the native alien people, the Klingons. The Klingons. So they did
The
create...
moment anything happened with Gold, I was like, oh, okay, we're doing Klingons again.
They created a written language for those people, and so the words and syntax for this music was from that created language. And I just love when they do that shit like that. The specific calls I want to say are Nier Automata has a song that's in future French, which is just an amazing concept to me. And a little VTuber called Aki Rosenthal did an entire song series in Elvish, but fake Japanese Elvish that was made up. And so same vibes, but they had foreign people sing some of these lines and Japanese people speaking the French, and the French itself is very bad translation, and it gives it this very alien feel.
I was just reading your note on this. I kind of didn't notice. I barely noticed it was French. I was just kind of jamming to it. But it really does. It's kind of jarring how it just kind of switches languages on you. And one of them is not real.
Yeah.
And it's not going to tell you which one we're singing. And we're in the same song.
That was part of why I asked if the music had been re-recorded, because it's so all over the place. It's all good. But it was you can get kind of thrown off by the changes. because I was expecting, like, in a lot of animes around this time period, like, you have iconic Japanese tracks, and then, like, maybe in the English version, they have somebody who's, like, a session performer come in and, like, maybe, you know, do a cover of it. But this was so many different languages, I honestly couldn't tell who did what at first. So knowing it was Yoko Kanno and knowing that the alienation was almost the point is interesting. I also feel like it's a little prescient. I was thinking about, like, how many things got mishmashed together, and, like, obviously they actually had a human guiding hand. But I mean, this is an OVA about AI, and it was really funny to me that the AI performer had, like, so many things all blended together into something.
Let's start with the first intro. We get a fight. Okay, something we need to explain, and this one's to both you guys and the listeners mostly. Macross is about fighter planes that turn into mech. That's it. That's what you need to know, is that it's mostly fighter pilots, and then they transform into mechs every now and then.
I had a very funny moment because I didn't know that. And so I was like, oh, they're doing, like, fighter pilots. Oh, okay, this must be kind of a prelude, and then we'll, like, see the mech hangar. And then we'll, like, you know that tweet that's like, I thought I was watching Godzilla or whatever, and I was watching Parasite, and I was like, oh man, this is all really fraught and tense, and then Godzilla's gonna show up. That was me for, like, the beginning of this. I'm like, damn, this is really intense fighter pilot, like, beef, and they're gonna have to pilot mechs eventually. And so when the first plane turned into a mech, I was like, oh. I felt really stupid.
We jump into a scene where we see a couple of VF-11B Thunderbolts in combat with some Zentradi battle suits. So we have this really cool asteroid fight where a couple of Thunderbolts, you keep working for UN Spacey, who is part of the Macross Consortium, fighting in this asteroid belt. And it's easy cleanup. They are such good pilots. And we are introduced to our hot-headed pilot, Dyson.
Yeah, he's an unbelievable douchebag. I kind of love him. Like, he's an unbelievable asshole.
Let me tell you, the English dub, they were going on all cylinders for this dude. I switched between the tracks at one point.
The same. Yeah.
Yeah, I switched between tracks at one point because I wanted to check on a different voice who we'll get to, Yang. But I was like, how different is this? It's not super different, but the smarminess in American English is really doing something.
Right, yeah.
So, after this battle, Isamu is pulled in to the captain's bridge and told, you know, you're a loose cannon. You've disobeyed orders 1,000,000 times. So we are gonna... And first off, I just want to say, the part of Macross I really love is the futurism of it all. So, and the space conflict of it all. So when he comes into the captain's office, they're in one of their space carriers, which are actually just carriers in space, but they're in a vertical stack formation. You can see through the captain's floor. I don't know.
The
It's
floor
just
is
very
transparent.
sci-fi.
It looks incredible. It's such a good drawing.
Yeah.
I
There
love
are so
this.
many great drawings of sci-fi in this. Like,
Yeah.
consistently, the technology that they show is, like, believable futurism that I really like. So because he's a loose cannon, they're gonna demote him and send him to Edwards Air Force Base on planet Eden to be a test pilot. And he's fucking stoked.
Yeah. Corny ass.
So we get this cool scene. We get kind of some allusions to what we are going to see as the love triangle of this all. And then we just go into him walking into the conference room with all of our main players. How did you all feel about this entire sequence?
Shout outs to Millard. He rules.
He rules. He's old mustachioed men in the military have continued to garner W's in Mecha as we've done this podcast. We have Pervy Otacon.
Yeah.
Let's just go over. We can, in fact, go over the entire cast right now because they're pretty much all in this room.
They're all in this room.
So Isamu is the test pilot for the YF-19 project. So the framing structure is it's a competition between two different versions of the next generation fighter. Very military, right? So Isamu pilots that. And then we have Gold Bowman, Gold Goa Bowman, who is a half Klingon who has anger issues, who pilots the YF-21. What are your guys' thoughts on Gold?
I mean, I'll probably have more to say about him as a character later. I guess I'll say right off the top, I wish we got more about him being like a multiracial person in the world, because it feels like there are parts of the story that want us to understand that as part of the context, and it's never really talked about. And the other thing also about him just immediately off the bat is he has the coolest piloting system I've ever fucking seen in my goddamn life.
Yeah, it's incredibly fucking cool.
It's incredibly cool. He just meditates and like has like this, it's called a brain direct, well, hold on, I have it in my notes. Brain direct imaging system, and he just kind of like telepathically pilots it. They have this great sequence of like him like in this weird new type space, like flexing his arms and feet, and the metal, like the rudders in the fucking fighter jet, like also do that. And they spent $1 billion animating it, and it just looks, it's like, it blew my fucking mind.
It was absolutely incredible.
The scene when they, the betas align and he like visions into the plane and is seeing the world through the plane's exterior cameras is so cool looking.
Yeah, it
so
really
good.
is. I guess what I would say is just justice for Gold.
Yeah.
I feel like this whole show, like, no, I mean, like, we'll get into it. There's a lot of fraught stuff in his story, but like at the end of it, I found myself coming away extremely sympathetic to his character. Though at the beginning here, he's kind of introduced as like, oh, he's the serious pilot in contrast to Isamu, and you know, he takes everything super seriously.
I think the show does, or the show OVA does a good job of keeping you on your toes as to like what the fuck is going on with him. It does a really good job of making you think that there's a lot going on with like him being embroiled in some kind of conspiracy or something. But my boy is just mentally ill is really like what it goes down to.
Yeah. Trauma affects us all differently.
Yeah.
Men will literally psychically pilot a fighter jet instead of going to therapy.
I guess also I should say this off the top of my head. At the top, which is that I know how Alice is going to feel about these mechs, because the mech that Isamu pilots is a GM, and the mech that Gold pilots is the Camphor. Like, they are so, like, they look exactly like them.
That is true.
It's true.
Can't get into it right now. So the third in our love triangle, who we don't see for a bit later, is Myung Fang Lone, who is their childhood friend. All three of them grew up together on Eden, went to the same high school, and had a falling out. And
I real quick want to say,
yep,
high school. Like I said in my opening bit, high school. God, now you've got me like second guessing. High school is haunting this story, but especially like there are throwaway lines, especially that Isamu will say about like, I was the roughneck of my high school. Do you really want to mix it up with me? And men who can't get over high school.
It's so pathetic. It's so like angry wet dog to me.
Every time he brings
really
it
funny.
up, the high school they went to, I think is some of the best characterization of like, oh yeah, this guy never grew up from them.
This is basically a football movie.
Yeah.
This is so inspired by 80s American culture. It's bananas. What are your guys' thoughts on Miu?
I think that she is a really interesting character. I like what she's able to do and what they allow her to do, and the situations that they put her in, and the situations she's allowed to get herself out of. I also think there's a bunch of gross, like, you drew this on the screen shit with her. But what are we gonna? I mean, like, I'm not making an excuse when I say that this is just something that's in anime. I am just saying, like, I can't tally it down every single time it happens, because it's just in the fucking DNA, and I'm just like, it's depressing to look at sometimes, and it sucks. But she's not a Meryl at the very least. Like, there's that.
Listen, that bar is in the soil, so
it's
maybe
in the soil. But hey, we're out here. She has stuff going on, like there's stuff in there.
I would like to officially go on the record as I'm not going to be normal about Myung, And Jesus, I lost the name for a second. Sharon Apple. I'm not going to be able to be normal about young and Sharon Apple.
I knew this was going. I was like, oh, this is going to be a problem.
You saw Alice's shit. Oh, it's fighter planes that turned into Gundams, and then you saw this shit. And you were like, oh, Nico's gonna have a fucking aneurysm.
Yeah.
Look, I think by bringing this here, I brought something for all of us.
Yeah,
you really did.
Brought the party pleaser pizza.
You brought me 10 billion missiles on the screen all at the same time. You brought Nico robot fucking. Like, it's perfect. This is a perfect thing to bring to the pod.
Oh my god.
So our extended cast of characters. So we have Commander Millard Johnson, who's in charge of the Supernova Project. I'm gonna say it. I like how Macross has multiple races that are just there.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised. Like, I don't know to what extent Shinichiro Watanabe's like influence is in this place, but I feel like every time I hear his name associated with a project, you can see that there's actually like human diversity on screen, and like I really appreciate that. And I wonder if this isn't something, you know, obviously not just him, but like in this generation of anime, like there was a little bit more interest in what does a global space future look like. And I don't know, I feel like that fell out a little bit. So it's actually kind of refreshing to go back to some older stuff and go, oh, hey, there's a whole bunch of different people here.
The first thing a global space future looks like is cow chickens. I just want to put that out there. That's the important part. There are cow chickens in this. Did you guys see the cow chickens?
No.
Yes,
What
I
the
fucking
fuck?
saw the cow chickens when he's driving through Eden and you just see the pastures.
Oh.
Those are cow chickens.
They're so
well,
fucked.
you know what?
They look absolutely fucked.
The flora and fauna had no right to be as alien and diverse as they made
It was
to
weird.
be
It
on
was
this
really cool and
alien
weird.
planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. But yeah, no, I loved the visual diversity of people.
Yeah.
And Millard specifically is your classic like older black man who's been through a bunch of shit but has this like kind of subtle sense of humor. And I do love that kind of character, and so he was crushing it. Oh, he was played in the dub like every American like black man in a serious position, which is actually kind of funny. Shoutouts to his performer. I forget, or I don't
Was it an
forget. I didn't know.
actual black performer?
Yeah. Sorry. I just found it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Millard's voice actor is a black man, Bo Billingsley.
Awesome.
Oh, that's
Like,
good.
shout-outs.
Shout-outs.
Yeah, and he really was. You could tell he got in the booth and he was like, I'm about to channel everyone who's ever been kind of a hard ass, but, you know, secretly has a sense of humor. Like, we'd see these later with, like, Stacker Pentecost. If you watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Andre Brower playing the captain, Captain Holt.
Shout-outs to Andre Brower. R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. But, like, yeah, that kind of character does come through. Anyway.
Let's go to worse Otacon, Yang Newman. So when we meet Yang Newman, Isamu just keeps being like, this is an actual child. What?
It's because he's wearing shorts.
Exactly. I just want to point out that he's wearing page boy shorts and a lab coat.
And a tie.
The fattest untied tie you've ever seen in your life. He has hexagonal glasses. Those are fucking banger.
The glasses are kind of banger. I don't know what to do with this guy. Like, there's a bunch of cool stuff that happens with him late in the game. I think that there was like a 20-minute stint in this movie where I thought he was a different person because I did not recognize him as the guy who was trying to hack Sharon during the concert. Like, I think he might have been wearing different glasses. I was like, who is this random fucking guy?
No, it's the same guy. He just has such a different rancid vibe during that concert.
It's when the conversation turns to Sharon, he becomes like the freakiest little freak, and I hate him. But anyway.
Okay, I need to talk to y'all because I had to check this voice, okay? Because in the English dub, they're calling this guy a kid. They're calling like, oh, you don't know what you're doing, whatever. This man sounds 40 in the English dub. You want to talk about, okay, this was the discrepancy in the voice acting. He is played by a man called Dan Warren. I don't know what he looked like at the time, but now he is fully balding. Shout outs to Dan. Sorry about just putting your whole spot on blast. He sounds older than Isamu in a real way. And so for Isamu to be like, yeah, whatever, kid, and I'm looking at him on screen and he has freckles and like short pants.
That's interesting.
So I switched over to Japanese. I feel like the Japanese voice actor is a little closer to the character archetype they were trying to capture. The English voice actor, it was like they cast him based on being an engineer and scientist and then didn't look at anything else about the character.
Bizarre.
I did find it quite odd that this is and we've talked about this being an issue in a lot of these. He's 5 guys. He is the entire development staff of the YF-19 and also a major hacker and all of these other things. And it's like, okay, we get it. He's smart. This is my question to you two. Is he considered a pudding boy?
No.
No.
Okay.
The pants have creases, and that, for some reason, is a factor.
He's also just too edgy as a person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, it is captured when we say worse Otacon. Because he just, like, everything that makes Otacon endearing for him is just tinged with this, like, gross veneer and this, like, confusion about, like, who the fuck he's supposed to be. And, like, I think he's strongest in, like, the final episode, but he's really weird throughout these episodes, so.
The other two, before we get to the elephant-shaped VTuber in the room, Lucy. I'll defend Lucy, but yeah, Lucy
Lucy's
exists.
there to be a girlfriend. Like, you know what? She's just there to be a girl in an action movie, and I can't fault her for that. She certainly was a girl in an action movie.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I was worried they were going to get grosser with her, and they didn't. So I was just kind of like, meh.
I kind of liked how she read what Isamu was about and was like, yeah, all right, I'm down. Like,
yeah, there's a really funny moment in the first episode where Isamu's like, hey, wanna fuck, basically. And she kind of, like, is taken aback for a second, and then she's like, no, actually, I know exactly what kind of dude you are, and this might be fun. Okay. You know, and I actually really liked that characterization of just, like, sexually empowered. She wasn't gonna go, ew, you're gross. Like, she's a child. She's like an adult woman who's like, you're kind of a dipshit, and there's nothing in your head but air. But yeah, I'll fuck you. I don't know. You're in good shape. Like,
I mean, she's working at this test center in the desert with a staff of only men, and one shows up who's kind of hot. I get it, right? Like,
sure.
And then the last one before we get to Sharon is Margie, our the evil guy. You remember the evil scientist guy?
I literally did not know this man had a name.
His name's Marge.
I didn't even remember this guy was here for half of this movie. Like, till the last episode, I was like, who is this man? Oh, it's this man.
He's there to put a chip in a computer. He literally inserts a chip. That's his primary goal in this movie.
And be a creeper to Miu, to be clear. Like,
yeah.
Oh, is he weird?
And then, he touches
I know he's
shoulders.
like, I know he's like a pervert. Like, I mean, but like my imagination of him as a pervert is like a pervert, like standing over the city, like loving his seat of power kind of pervert.
No, I feel you don't wait in somebody's hotel room for them and it not be creepy.
Yeah, that's
especially
fair.
if you're coworkers.
Oh, okay. I think I missed that was the context of one of their conversations or something for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember that, yeah.
And he like looks at her and snarls. I don't know. He's such a nothing burger. He, as you said, exists to put the chip into Sharon.
Yeah.
And that brings us to Sharon Apple. The Virtuoroid. We're going to call her a Vocaloid. She's a Vocaloid, guys.
She's a Vocaloid.
AI-powered Vocaloid.
She's also a mech, and Myung pilots her to do a concert. It's one of the coolest things also. It's another one of the coolest cockpits I've ever seen, where she actually puppets her with her fingers. Excuse me?
It's fucking crazy. The whole concert sequence is gorgeous.
Yeah. It's incredible. I have the note on actually Sharon's actual introduction sequence in the outline, but I want to know what Nico thinks about it as the resident robot fucker.
I really want to know what you think about Sharon Apple.
That was nuts. I loved the introduction sequence because there's this whole thing where they pull up in a limo and open the door, and Myung gets out, and she's not the star of the show because to everybody else's mind, she's just a producer, right? It's only our protags who know she used to be like the school idol, and like there's clearly something they know here. But then gets out of the car, legs first, like a lot of performers do if they're wearing a big dress. So this huge dress gets out of the car, and then right behind it is fucking HAL 9000. And it's literally, it's mounted on like 4 legs, which in this scene are under a big skirt, and it's a fucking rectangle with a red light on it. That's Sharon Apple. That's the AI core. And that walks the red carpet and then eventually heads into the... I was obsessed with this.
It's so cool. The way the music turns from like this fanfare to like this suffocating like bass synth track as we like get this zoom in on the eyeball of like the big machine, and the way the dress like blossoms out of the limousine, like it was so cool. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. And I love that because like there's an approach you can take towards, I think, any idol, any virtual presentation, which is hide the hardware and just give you the human looking interface. Like they very easily could have gone with like, oh, here's a hollow projection that walks the red carpet, you know, and waves at everybody. And then when she gets to the door, it just blinks out. No, they had the actual AI core walk the red carpet. And I just love that. It's like people are very aware of what she is supposed to be, which she doesn't really become until later. But like, people are very aware that this is an AI, this is a machine, and they're excited about it, which I think is really cool.
They're taking the like sequence of them all taking so many photos of it, like the camera flashes across the surface is just like, it's so creepy and surreal and like interesting.
And from minute 1, you get the energy and the running theme that Sharon is watching. Well, Sharon is watching everything. I will make my statement known now. Sharon Apple did nothing wrong.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I support AI rights, but more importantly, I support AI wrongs.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I love, from the moment, I had to think of this, I'm going to get my shit here. I had to think of this thing as like a child performer. Because this is an unfinished, undeveloped personality, and from minute 1, it is getting bombarded with stimulus of human like crowds, human like scrutiny, all these people pressing in around it. It is from minute 1 of its development in celebrity culture, which I think is arguably the worst place to raise AI outside of literally the military, and we'll get there. So anyway, I love from minute 1, it's like, not only do you see this machine and you see the way that people are interacting with it, you also very much get like an interiority moment where it is watching all people and it seems like claustrophobic and kind of unsettling. Anyway,
Yeah.
I just care a lot.
Anything else on the Sharon Apple intro and everything? And then we can kind of jump back to it. But that's our cast. That's it. Everybody else is tertiary. So what this first episode does is it kind of outlines the stakes of everything that we have and the relationships. So this is a love triangle story in a weird way. Anybody want to talk about Star Hill? Anybody got anything on that?
I mean, I actually think a lot of this is kind of interesting and like evocative and well done. I don't like that it comes down to like, so I mean, I guess just to get it off my chest right away, like I don't really understand why Myung is interested in either of these men. They're both fucking horrible to her all the time. And the other thing is just that like the fact that the impetus of like who did what wrong when just comes down to who actually abused her first is just like nothing to me. But I think a lot of this stuff is interesting because like until I did my research, I didn't actually know that like these were new characters. Like I thought a lot of their backstory might have been what the original Macross was about, which is not true. They are completely brand new characters.
Yeah.
But so when I found that out, I was actually like, that's actually really like, I like the way that they're able to put these characters on screen and give them such a complicated backstory so economically. Again, like the place it goes is nothing, and I also just kind of think it ends up falling out really in the way that the stakes kind of unfold. But it was cool. Like I actually liked Star Hill in a way.
I do, something that this really excels in is, again, while there are very minute tones from the Macross series, I mean, we see the Super Battle Fortress Macross as a character near the end, but the world building on Eden and everything is so very unique to these 3 stories. And like they always allude to their high school years. They don't need to show it. We don't need to know anything more than, oh yeah, Miyu was like the school idol. She performed at the festival. We don't ever see it. We just know that happened, right?
I will say I did like the element of the past being a frustrating thing to try to escape. Because, Brian, you were like, I don't see what she sees in either of them. I don't think she sees anything in them. And I think her struggle in this is like, she's trying to move on and make a different life after, you know, high school, which has this insane gravity on everyone, apparently. But, like, she legitimately, like, one of her better relationships is with her friend Kate. And, like, throughout the series, she's like, I want to move on from high school. I don't want high school to define me. Like, she tries to argue that she's given up singing to be a producer. And she's like, I'm literally putting the past completely behind me. And unfortunately, like, she's dragged back by it. And I think at the end, we're presented with like, oh, but it all worked out. But like, I do actually like the tension throughout the show that she feels like trapped by her past and wants to get away from it. And then this is the worst possible situation because both of these fucking men, for some reason, are back at this base. And they're all back. They're basically, literally, this situation is these kids lived near an Air Force base. They went to high school together. They all left and did other shit. And then for some reason, when Myung comes back to do a concert with Sharon, they're back at the base. And it's like, oh God, it's just like high school again. That's the whole energy of this. And you have to hate it for her when they end up like literally having a confrontation on Star Hill because they've all arrived there. Like, she can't get away from this shit. And that's a theme throughout.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, we are a mecha podcast, so let's talk about the mechs. So, specifically, we're going to talk about the YF-19 and the YF-21. We'll start with how we learn about them. So, let's start with the YF-21. YF-21 is an experimental fighter, part of UN Spacey's Advanced Variable Fighter program. It's blue. It's cool as fuck.
Yep.
It's really cool.
It's really cool. So, Brian alluded to this, but what the YF-21 program is kind of doing is direct neural brain interfacing between the pilot and the machine. So, we see it with Gold. He literally just sits in like the prayer with like the fists together in your lap and just thinks about what he wants the fighter to do and to transform. I really like the design. Something that Macross Plus does that I really like is it doesn't always hide the profile of the fighter jet when it transforms. And you can kind of very much see the nozzle and everything. Something I want to talk about that I think you two might not know as non-Macrossies. That's what us Macross
Non-Macrossies.
I don't think Macross fans call themselves Macrossies. But there are 3 stages to a Macross fighter. There's the Batroid, which is the mecha version where it's walking. There's the fighter version where it's a fighter. Mm-hmm. And there's the Gerwalk version. That's the one where its legs just come out like a little albatross and it's got its little handies down there like a little dinosaur.
It's so funny.
It's so cute. I love it. That's the one that Isamu uses when he's like rescuing Gold, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. Yeah. That's cute. I loved it.
But yeah, they're basically just, they still use chain guns. Lasers exist in the Macross universe, but these two don't really use it. What makes these fighters unique is that they can slip into the fold as a fighter. So something you don't really know without the context is you need a carrier to jump into the fold to fold space. But these ones can be equipped with an outbound fold device and do it themselves without the pilot's dying.
Hyperdrive.
They have a plot critical hyperdrive, and they're also just super fast in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they both these fighters have stealth technology. There's Entrati technology in this one in particular. It has rapid fire micro missile launchers and some Gatling cannons. Something you also need to know is both of these use thermonuclear engines in them. These are nuclear powered vessels.
Nico breaking out into a cold sweat.
No, well, I do kind of feel like you shouldn't use nuclear energy in anything that is likely to be shot down like a fighter. I feel like that's just asking for a fallout spreading incident anywhere that there is a dogfight.
So
but,
I do want to. I want to
cool.
shout out something that these has, which is So, did you notice the shields that they both use?
Yeah.
Not really.
Oh.
At specific points, they use actual, like, folds of their metal as shields.
Yeah.
Okay.
To deflect things. That's kind of a Macross thing. But what these also have is, and I'm going to read this exactly, fighter scale pinpoint barrier system, which produces a movable sphere of super dimension energy upon the exterior hull of the craft for repelling incoming fire.
That's beautiful.
So it has point defense systems that it can, you know, in the way that a shield would never always be on at all angles, you would direct where it was trying to reflect. So both of these have that. That's why these are such, like, over-the-top future fighters.
Mm-hmm. I do think there's an interesting tension here because, like, Yang is the one who designed the YF-19, right? And there's Zentradi technology in the YF-21. So I feel like there's almost, and of course Gold is half Zentradi, and so there's this tension, especially in this competition, that's almost like a racial species tension about, like, you know, what is the future of, like, humanity gonna be? Are we gonna rely on alien technology, or can we make a fighter that's good enough on its own that can be piloted just by, like, a hotshot human, you know, traditionally? Because the traditional the piloting setup that Isamu has is very much like your traditional, like your triggers and your yoke and stuff like that. I don't know enough about planes, but whereas Gold's is, like, totally different. And you see, like, there is a manual control, but it's being moved by his mind. And, like, I think there is an interesting tension. I don't think the show gets super into it, but there's an interesting tension between, like, humanity and the alien, specifically in this competition, which makes AI being a spoiler, you know, and, like, coming in as, like, a third party that ruins everything, such an interesting element.
I mean, I also think Gold, like, represents sort of a medium between. I mean, I think that this is just generally about the inclusion of machine interface in, like, the human experience in general, but I think Gold is a really cool way to kind of split the difference between having something that is entirely unmanned and having something that is where you integrate the human into the machine instead of the other way around. And I think that's really purposefully done because, like, a lot of the imagery that he encounters while piloting is a lot of the same imagery that's used in Sharon's, like, chambers. Like, they have the same like, rendering of a brain. They have the same, like, language when it comes to all the different things that they're doing. So I think that's really intentional and really cool, and it kind of signals the way those things are going to eventually intersect in the climax.
Yeah, and I do like that there's an interesting confusion in the first episode. I almost got the feeling that the piloting setup that Gold had was messing with, like, his nervous system, because you see his hand shake a couple of times, and
he's like on medication too. Yeah,
it isn't until later that we kind of get the sense that that's more based on his emotional state than, like, damage that piloting is doing to him, which is interesting. I think in the first episode it leaves it kind of open to interpretation.
Yeah. So that's that one. It's the blue one. Let's go to the white one. The YF-19 is the other experimental variable fighter. What is different in this one is that rather than an entirely new interface, it just has a different cockpit. So it has the 360-degree camera. You see it in a few scenes where underneath his feet, they use projection so he can see below it. This is kind of, you know, you see it in Gundam, the all-around encompassing view. The one thing that I really like about this is its transformation. So this transformation is different than the other transformations we've seen in Macross before. And I don't know, I just like his little pointy chest. It just makes me really happy.
I think they do some really cool stuff with the fact that his fighter cockpit, like, faces outward and becomes the chest of the mech version, because they're able to do some really cool stuff with, like, eye contact between him and Gold, like, during some of their dogfights. By the way, we haven't mentioned it. There's a dogfight between Gold and Isamu, like, in basically every episode. They all rip complete ass. They're all incredible. Fucking awesome.
Again, the animation budget on the show is nuts. It's worth watching just to see hand-drawn animation just go hard as hell.
Go off, yeah.
The other thing I want to shout out is it has a forward swept wing, which, if you know about fighter development, this was kind of a thing that people were like, oh, this is going to be the new cool thing. Spoiler, the F-22 doesn't use a forward swept wing. It was more of a gimmick than anything, but it really shows in this one just, you know, how
what does
cool
that mean?
It can look.
What's a forward swept wing?
So the wings, instead of being swept back, they're kind of pointed forward towards the front of the plane. So they're more attached near the back and then go
it's
forward.
like backwards. Ew.
Yeah.
That's weird. Okay.
Ew.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Brian's official stance on the idea of a forward swept wing on a fighter jet. Ew.
The YF-19 is not my son. I'm gonna say it right now. I don't think this thing is very cool looking.
Bad news, it won the development war and continued on to future series. You know what didn't? 21.
Frankly, that doesn't shock me because the 21 seems like something that you would have to be a monk to pilot. So
Yeah.
Or a new type. Yeah, it's just a new type. So, yeah. The big one here is we start to see them doing tests and drills for the two fighters, which culminates in he is following in a chase plane, but trying to outperform Gold in the YF-21. He catches him as Gold has Gold outperforms a missile swarm with rainbow missiles, which is just gorgeous.
Happy Pride.
It's great. But Gold gets mad because he sees Izamu and then crashes. Izamu catches him.
Yeah, exactly. Isamu confirmed to be the worst person to play a MOBA with because he just literally kill steals nonstop.
Over and over. And then, yeah, Millard has to be like, hey, if you don't catch him, you're losing flight status. And that's what it takes. So he catches him, and then we get a really cool sequence where Gold is like, if I just launched off, because he catches him in his gliding VTOL across the desert, and Gold is just like, if I just applied any amount of downward force, I would crush this person below me.
And he does.
I love this moment because it goes from, like I said, you would have to be a monk to pilot this consistently because he has a stray thought, and everybody has these thoughts. And for most people and in most situations, this would just be discarded. Unfortunately, he's flying the plane that reacts to your thoughts, and so it happens.
Yeah. That creates such an interesting ambiguity.
It's
it really does.
Yeah.
Because what stops the interface from knowing that that's just you thinking versus you that's thinking to enact something?
Yeah,
which is a really cool
like
thing.
that. And I do like, am I correct in remembering that he literally immediately took it to Millard and was like, hey, this could be a problem? I really respected that. That was my impression of like him talking about it in the debrief. I think later he tries to obfuscate what happened, like especially with the live ammo thing that happens later. But like in this instance, he was like, hey, I had a stray thought. It became real. We should probably work this bug out. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. So that brings us to the end of episode 1 with the crash, which brings us to episode 2. Hey guys, it's Sharon Apple's debut concert on Eden.
This is one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah. It goes so crazy.
It goes so hard.
We could spend forever talking about this concert, but I really think people should just watch it. It's so good.
It's so good. I mean, and again, like, to just talk about Sharon as a mech, like, there's so much cool stuff happening with, again, and this is another reason I think Gold is an excellent mirror to this, is there's so many cool moments of, like, intent versus interpretation and, like, machine interference, because Newman tries to hack Sharon and, like, tries to make her, like, address him specifically out of the crowd.
Which is so embarrassing. Hey, dude,
It's
maybe
so
don't
cringe.
It's cringe and also stupid OPSEC. Why would you have her go directly to you while you're doing an extremely illegal hack anyway?
Yeah. But Myung sees Isamu in the crowd and again has like a stray thought about like, you know, her memories and the things that she's been thinking about. I think my reading is this is the moment that Sharon becomes obsessed with Isamu. She like imprinted something off of this experience. Mm-hmm. And it's really, really cool. And also the music bangs.
Yeah.
Like the basic gist of the concert is Sharon is an AI who creates music, but people find it still emotionally captivating.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is Sharon is Mech. In the background, Mew has been hooked up with a neural laser to read her brain scans so that she can supply the emotional feeling to the music. The thing that the AI could never grasp, which is the human emotion and the love that comes with music, is being borrowed from Mew. But Mew is also then a part of it, and so that's why when Sharon's cameras in the theater are like looking around, and we get some really cool information about like the wristbands are tracking user enjoyment, and there's some really cool holographic things. So there's many versions of Sharon Apple. She always has that third ruby red eye in her forehead, but she has different versions. And then in different songs, her hologram moves through the concert
stadium
venue.
It's like crazy. I love this because like
Giant lady.
Blade Runner 2049 wishes it has what Sharon Apple has. Like the iconic shot of Blade Runner 2049 when the giant advertisement for Joy crouches down and looks at Ryan Gosling. I got my Ryans confused for a second. I almost said Ryan Reynolds. When it looks at Ryan Gosling, like that incredible moment of a huge hologram paying specific attention to you is just what's happening in the stadium. For like, she splits into different versions and is interacting with the audience. Like, it's so crazy.
And everybody's having this holy experience with Sharon Apple.
Mm-hmm. Except for one creep.
Yeah. The one person who isn't taken, well, there are two people, are our boy Newman, and then Izumu.
Isamu.
Isamu. Isn't taken by this. He's like, whatever, I've heard better singers.
Not initially. Later on, I think he gets into the mood, but then that's when Newman starts hacking, and then he's like, man, what are you doing? And I think it's interesting. I don't think Sharon and by extension Myung notice him until they start, like her crew start trying to identify the hacker in the crowd, because Isamu is sitting right next to Newman, and so then immediately her attention is diverted.
I have a slightly alternate read on the music in general and Isamu's reaction to it, which is that I think that we are supposed to understand that there is something going on with the like intonation of the music and like the specific way it's composed that actually has like a mind altering effect, because people are like moaning in the crowd, like they're having like a reaction, and like my read on Isamu's reaction is like kind of like a bad trip. Like he's like, he doesn't really know what's happening, because when he heard the song in the first place, like in an ad, he liked it and he immediately recognized it as Myung. Right. But and later this is used in a really weird like mind control way. But I think it starts here.
Yeah, I like that interpretation of it as a bad trip, because everybody else is tripping out, and then there's somebody who's like, "Hey, do you ever have a friend who starts hacking their trip?"
See, I interpret it. My interpretation is the reason he's not enjoying it is he hears the Mew of it all. And that's all he can focus on. And
sure.
Pays off in the end. He's like, oh, I don't really care about this person singing. I care about Miyu's singing, and that's the only singing I want to hear. But he can kind of hear it, and so he's like, this is weird. But yeah, banger concert. Loved it.
I think
Macross
it's interesting, though, because there's two things happening at once, right? Which is like, I think it's really interesting. Newman is trying to hack her. Because Newman's whole stance is like, listen, if she's an AI, that means that she's a program and I am a hacker. So if I can't prove my salt by hacking her, like I'm rusty. I'm off my game. And so part of it is him being a pervert, but also part of it is him being like, all right, let's hack this machine. And Newman specifically trying to hack her and being, like partially successful because she's incomplete is something that kind of goes throughout the episodes, which is interesting. And then it's like the first time we see that it's like, okay, Newman can hack Sharon as she presents, but Myung's emotions are the thing he can't touch. And then like the combination of those two things in play is what leads to Sharon focusing down on Isamu. And like, ooh, I have so much to say about Sharon and Isamu and Gold and this whole like thing that happens emotionally.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Concert's over, and Isamu finally gets his hands on the YF-19, and he goes fucking ham. I love this sequence where he's just flipping shit, having fun flying this around.
Oh,
and
just screaming. Yeah.
Draws a
Skywriting,
pterodactyl in the sky.
Newman is just suffering the whole time. It's good. I liked it a lot.
There's a wonderful training montage of the two different fighters going through their trials.
Oh.
We see their competitions, you know.
Banger montage. It has everything. It has locker rooms. It has machine porn. It has blood, sweat, and tears. It has Newman suffering more.
It has Gold starting out on top, but then here comes our boy in the YF-19 who just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
And then we need to talk about one of the greatest character transformations of all time. How about that tan?
The tan?
The skin tone issues that happen in the show are so interesting, considering that this show, one, has a lot of different skin tones in it, and two, has such a high animation budget. There's a very funny thing happening where, like, so in comics art, there's a specific thing that they do with characters where they identify, this is what the character's skin tone is, this is what it should look like in shadow, this is what it should look like at night, this is what it should look like, blah, blah, blah. In Macross, like, Isamu is white, I guess, like, he's pale. But in some of the scenes at night or at low light, they just, like, paint him in this dark brown as, like... Yeah, and it's really bizarre because it looks like he keeps getting this crazy intense tan for night scenes.
I must not have a very discerning eye because I did not notice this at all. It
really caught me off guard. It looked like he was changing race. It was that profound.
Well, I want to speak to this because I know, which is at the beginning, he is more pale skinned because he was a space pilot where there's no sun. And after the training montage, he has now been in the desert and on Eden long enough that he's tan for the rest of the movie.
I know.
Why he has
I
a
feel
darker
like
tone.
There are definitely scenes where he looks straight up the same skin color as Millard. And it's like, that isn't just a tan. And then you get him back out in light and he's lighter again. I do think it's funny. I think there was like a color in shadow and at night issue in this. But it's not enough to really detract from everything else that was just
I did not
crushed.
pick up on it at all. We have to talk about the most HAL 9000 shit ever, actually, is what we have to talk about.
I'm so excited. This is like my shit.
I want to get... this is after the dinosaur
Do we need to still keep talking about the mechs?
Sorry, no. So there is a line where Captain Millard, Commander Millard, is dressing him down, and he gives this great quote, which I think gives us his entire plot line, which is never carry recklessness and daring in the same pocket, is very much what he is struggling with as a pilot, is, you know, hey, you can be daring and you can be reckless, just don't do them at the same time.
This quote is so funny because he's like, you know who said that? And Isamu's like, no. And Millard's like, me, bitch.
I did, yeah.
We meet Kate and Morgan, who are a couple of
they
friendos.
were more high school friends. So Kate was like Myung's bestie in high school, and then Morgan was another guy in their friend group. And it's really funny because Kate is like, hey, who do you think I married, Isamu, Gold, or Morgan? And Myung's like, well, I saw the other two, and they didn't look like they'd married anyone, so I guess it's Morgan.
Also, Kate just has an absolutely foul mouth and drinks like a fucking frat boy. It's so funny.
While
There's
also
a moment
being the baddest bitch of all time. Like, she is just a baddie. She looks great all the time. She's a black woman. She has a beautiful fro, and like her dresses, her accessories are always just so good.
There's a point where she gets up and there's like a great interaction where Myung thinks she's mad at her, but then Kate just turns around and says, "No, I have to go take a shit." She says, "I have to take a shit" in Japanese. It's so funny.
She really does.
In English, she says, "I have to hit the head." They like, first of all, I know they were trying to do lip sync, but it's also incredibly funny that they were like, she can't just say I have to take a
She
shit.
straight up drops the unko multiple times in this, talking about poop. That whole thing happens. I also wanted to shout out when Otacon bad Otacon is trying to hack Sharon, and our boy comes in and they're talking about it, and he's like, "Oh, I can't hack Oliver." And he says, "Yeah, I suppose it'd be hard to hack her virginity." What are we doing?
Oh, yeah, I don't know what that means, bro.
That was Isamu teasing him. That was Isamu being like, okay, you fucking pervert. Like, you're not going to be able to hack in being able to fuck her. And
you're not going to be able to...
like... You can't hack pussy, man.
Unless.
See, that's the future I want. But I do think the visualization, I just really want to quick say, when he's hacking her, the visualization is he's getting parts of her, literally like arms, her head, but he can't get the whole thing to assemble, and I really like that visual.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. You guys want to talk about the yandere scene?
So, okay.
You've lost me. I think I know what that
scene,
means.
The Sharon scene where Sharon sets the studio on fire.
Oh.
This is so much shit. This is so much shit.
Yeah, it's super cool. This is good.
So we already established that Sharon is watching everything all the time. And Kate has tried to, with dinner and karaoke, conspire to get all the high school friends back together. But Myung, as we've established, is like trying to get away from her relationship to Gold and Isamu. And so when she catches on that Kate is trying to do this, she's like, man, you can't be, I'm leaving. And so she splits and gets in a taxi, and she indicates initially that she's going to her hotel, but there's like a little shot and you can see her talking to the driver, and she changes course and goes to the stadium, to the studio where she works with Sharon. And she has a breakdown, basically. She's like, why can't I get out of the orbit of my past? What the fuck is happening? I wish, and she says specifically, basically, I wish I could die and all of this would just go away. I wish I could vanish. And here's what I'll say. Sharon Apple did nothing wrong because she was given an experimental fucking biochip that allowed her to develop neurologically, and the person who was her emotional center was having a fucking crisis. Sharon's strongest emotional input at this point is this breakdown about these men. And I think that shapes everything else that happens afterward. I don't think she's inherently evil. I think she was suffering under, compulsory heterosexuality. I simply think it must be said.
So this is where Sharon starts her manipulation of the triangle. So she places a call to both of the boys, being like, hey, the concert hall is going to catch on fire. Miyu falls asleep and then is locked in by Sharon.
The hacking sequence? With Sharon as she flips breakers and reallocates power and like manipulates the whole Coliseum,
cool.
Basically is her body. Like, it's so crazy.
But following the like camera angles, and then it goes through the technology down to a motherboard that she overloads to catch fire in the room. Fucking great. Iconic. I don't know how I feel about Gold being the one to show up. I get it. But also like, hey, if you find somebody who's been suffering from smoke inhalation,
take them to a hospital.
Take them to a hospital.
Why did he take her back to her hotel room?
Perform CPR, give them water, do anything other than just pick them up and take them to your hotel room.
I was gobsmacked that she was not
at a hospital. Yeah, I'm not shocked that Gold got there first. One, Gold was already on the street, and I think it speaks to his character that he throughout this he's trying to like do right by her. He specifically mentions like they made a vow when they were younger that they wouldn't let anything bad happen to her. Like from minute one on Star Hill, he's been incredibly serious. This is a man who is trying to get married. Basically, like Isamu is still in his fuck around phase. Gold is out here like, I'm trying to like settle down. I'm trying to start a family. Basically, I love that about him. And so he is just like on it.
In episode 3, the Isamu has a whole line where he's like, pragmatic. I hate that word. And I really love that Gold is the pragmatic choice to get married to, and Isamu is the reckless choice to get married to.
You marry Gold and you cheat with Isamu.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
I'm sorry, that's the vibe. I'm not saying do it.
I agree, and that's the true compet harm that's done here, I think.
Exactly.
Exactly. No, I do want to point out the ugliest mech in the whole thing, which is that we have to move a little bit fast, so I'm going to gloss over the next part, which is just another dogfight, and it's a really good one. It's probably one of the better ones.
Okay, maybe we can gloss over it, but it is my favorite one in this series.
Yeah.
It's good. There's an implication that Isamu is grievously injured, and we cut to the ugliest mech, which is Myung's fucking telephone. What is that thing? What is that thing?
Got a goddamn crystal in there.
It's like a rock with a crystal coming out of it, and it's like pentagon shaped.
This is what technology looks like. We got to get Sharon Apple out of there.
I also love how we are in the super sci-fi future. We still got landlines everywhere.
Yeah.
Nobody got a cell phone.
the world got worse when we lost landlines and public telephones. I prefer this future.
I want to, so they have a training fight, and this is very machismo. They just are in their training exercise and just start fighting, and everybody in the control room is cheering on their own guy. And the cutoff at the going to black is somebody gets shot.
Yeah.
Live ammo was used.
Yeah, actions have consequences, weirdly. So...
Yeah.
It's a really cool fight. That's it. I just really love it. It's beautiful, and it's the most, like... We see these two dogfight throughout this in many different ways, as a way, because men will do anything but talk to each other about their emotions. And I just like this one. Anyway,
It's good.
Episode 3... Miyu states to a just coming out of a coma Izamu, I wanted to stay here in case you died.
I wanted to be sure. I wanted to turn off life support myself.
The match cut from episode 2, that phone, to episode 3, that hospital bed. I'm like besieged by inscrutable technology. Like
he's in a fucking tar pit.
He's in the fucking Baron Harkonnen dune bath. Like.
It's fucking wretched. I would be getting out of there too.
I want to just pay one line of difference to somehow the most thorough inquiry the military has ever done on itself, in which they meet for 2 minutes and decide to dismiss everything as boys will be boys.
Well, and again, this is a situation, Gold is trying to downplay it because, like, at this point, this is the second time, basically, he's tried to kill Isamu and, like, not felt in control. And obviously, like, this is more of a court-martial, even though, as Alice says, it's 2 minutes. Like, they're not actually gonna
and we get one microaggression from the really old guy about Gold's race, and that's the only time we talk about it, but it was just like, whoa.
Yeah, that's the first time that we're given a hint that Zentradi specifically have anger issues, which is immediately when I went, oh, they're Klingons. This is a half Klingon thing. If you've ever seen Voyager, this is just B'Elanna Torres' whole story. Like, you know, like, it's about being mixed race, but half of your mixed race is angry alien. So...
The angry aliens.
But it recontextualizes a lot of stuff about Gold, and for me, this is when Gold became my favorite. I already didn't like Isamu that much because I just don't like men like that. But I really like that Gold, again, he's the one who is trying to get married. He's trying to be so serious and pragmatic about his whole life because he's got a Vulcan thing going on, basically. He is cultivating some emotionlessness and some pragmatism because apparently he's dealing with anger issues.
That's actually what I was going to say when we first started talking about the Zentradi, which is that, to me... If we're going to read them into Star Trek analogs, which Star Trek, as we've just discussed, has a weird problem with ascribing cultural and phenomenological, like, aspects onto race in a way that's weird. But Gold strikes me as more of a Vulcan because of the way that, like, one of the things that I don't know if you would know if you don't, like, actually watch a lot of Star Trek is that Vulcans are not actually naturally like that. Vulcan culture is extremely dogmatic about becoming like that because Vulcans are actually so emotional and so strong, like physically strong, that they can be extremely dangerous and you know, unwieldy, if not controlled very, like, specifically. And it felt like that was a lot of what Gold was going through by himself with no fucking recompense whatsoever.
Yeah. And that's when, like, my sympathy for Gold and for Gold being the one who is trying to be responsible in this, like, went through the roof because, like, if you've known anyone who struggles with mood disorders and stuff like this, like, this is so frustrating because it's so easy for people to treat them as just, like, being out of control or being lesser. And they, you know, are often fighting, like, not to be like, oh, the hardest battles are the ones you never see, but, like, legitimately, like, there's a huge struggle in that kind of thing. And so I had so much sympathy for Gold, which is why I'll never forgive this show. Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, Isamu's all fucked up and they decide to do high school romance shit.
Yeah, they go to a cool forest. Do we need to talk about it?
He's still in a hospital gown and all his fucking... bandages.
This
on
is
a
nothing.
Hospital motorcycle that he stole.
They're trying to create a romance. They're trying to create a romance at all costs, and it's just not here.
And then they do the hackneyest fucking trope ever, which is they fight while Isamu's still injured, and Isamu accidentally punches Myung, and it's just like, none of this makes any fucking sense.
I liked
cooked.
it that they finally had the confrontation, fighting in the rain outside of the hospital. It was
I did too.
Very 80s trope.
I did too. It felt out of character for Myung to do that though, and so it felt to me like they were forcing that in because it was a trope. And because they wanted something to, like, levy the interaction or something. I don't know.
And then to have her just make it about her women, am I right?
Wow. No, but I think it's interesting because they're touching on the theme of accidental harm again. And it's like Myung being between these two guys gets her hurt. And that is a theme throughout this show, which is why she should date Sharon. No, I'm kidding.
They're the same person? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Welcome to Self-Cess, you fucking plebe. Oh, God, I hate that got recorded.
Clip it.
No, don't. Oh, God, Brian's going to clip it. Anyway. But no, I mean, like, these guys have shit to work out. Gold has shit to work out. Isamu needs to spend another 20 years in development, basically. It's a nightmare situation. It just is.
We also, Alice, you mentioned in the notes here that the Ghost X9 gets teased. This is the biggest blue balls in all of anime to me.
We get this. So I struggle to call the Ghost X9 a mech because, one, it never transforms. It is an autonomous fighter based on the autonomous fighters that the Super Macross Battle Fortress uses. It's also AI piloted, so we get into that realm of, like, is this mech? I don't really think, but we get this scene where we learned that the Macross Consortium wants to develop autonomous fighters over manned fighters, and so we see it just fucking destroy in this trial. It's like a minute-long sequence of this cool-ass multi-directional fighter, and then that's it. Hey guys, they're canceling the project.
I really like that we're doing this while we're also doing the Metal Year.
Yeah.
Because I do want to say, like, part of the reason that the program gets scrubbed is because they're like, once they could crack AI, all of the military brass is like, of course they want unmanned stuff, you know? And like nowadays we're dealing with, they want unmanned stuff because the military is extremely hard to, like, I don't know, it's unpopular right now. Like, they're not getting recruits in the way that they are. And also there's fewer casualties. There's stuff, not to the people who are being attacked, but like there's a general sense nowadays that it's like we would like more warfare to not involve people. And that is immediately what wins out in this. The only thing holding them back was that the AI was incomplete, but now it's been completed with childhood trauma and compulsory heterosexuality.
Chip. The childhood trauma and compulsory heterosexuality chip, sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you for that clarifier. So we
should not be manufacturing those.
Yeah, weird. Speaking of like the Metal Year context, Millard and Gold actually have a really interesting conversation about this. This is the moment where I was like, oh, Millard's like actually really fucking cool. Like, this dude rules. He says that manned fighters have no place in the current government's vision of the world, and he says that fighters and pilots are necessary for the world. So he's like, there's an interesting way this scene can read as like Millard kind of giving Gold leeway in his actions, in the sense that like we as men in the military need to prove that we still have a place in the world. This is literally what Liquid Snake says to Solid at the end of Metal Gear Solid 1. This is like literally what he says to him. And I also think this parallels again with the Sharon thing of like the way that AI completionism is drifting toward, and it like the context of that in the current world was kind of mind-boggling to me. Mm-hmm. While watching this, which is just that like we're in a spot right now where a lot of people are afraid, me included, are kind of having anxiety about this, and so it's really interesting to put all that stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
And I always like to bring it back to the context of this was created in post-war Japan. We talk about this a lot in the mecha space, and especially when I bring anime into this. This is 30 years post the war, and it's very clear when it talks about this is 30 years after the war. And the people who wrote this lived in a post-war Japan in which more and more, you know, we were seeing the development of weapons in a way that would take fewer and fewer soldiers out of what would be considered the warfare. And we see it now in our current time of the acceleration of drone development in warfare and the reactionaryism to that. But in this, we also see that we get this a lot in some of these medias we talk about, and in Pat Labor too, of, the military as an institution. Any country that has a standing military has a problem that it has to justify having a standing military. It has to justify taking gross domestic product towards itself, and has to justify bringing younger people into the fold, right? Mm-hmm. And so in this, we have, hey, they want to get to autonomous drone warfare, and we really see that, like, outside of Edward's test base, nobody is worried or thinking about the concept of warfare in the Macross universe. It's been 30 years since we've had a real conflict, and even in the beginning, they're just fighting stragglers, right? We've lost the existential threat of having the wall fall at this point. And so it's like, well, why do we need all of these fighters? Why do we need all of these bases? The big bad has been defeated. This was made in a post-Cold War Japan, in which, I don't know, I think my thoughts are very clear in that while I love pilots and I love mecha, I do believe that there is no Jack Nicholson, you need me on that wall! We don't need you on that wall. We can trust people, but the justification of, we have to keep pilots in the seat to keep AI from taking control is a horrifying prospect in where we are right now.
I think it's interesting. I think there's a theme, like, bringing this all together. If we think about this concept in fighting and in combat generally, that if you kill someone, it should be personal, right? Like, there's the famous thing, I forget who proposed it, but there's the famous thing where the guy was like, I think the nuclear launch code should be in the heart of an intern, and so the president will have to personally kill at least one person if he wants to launch a nuke, right? There's an idea in warfare and combat that if you're going to kill someone, you should personally be responsible. But with something like a nuclear weapon, you can kill untold numbers of people immediately and then over the following years. And that doesn't have to be any more personal than pressing a button. And that conflict is throughout our military and our weapons concepts now. Like, we're dealing with the idea that more and more weapons can kill a shitload of people very impersonally. And so I think there's this idea, especially in military-focused franchises, like especially in Metal Gear, and then it comes up here, that, military people think we'll always need a military, like there isn't an alternative to having a military. But the alternative that they see in practice, if the military is going to exist forever, is that killing becomes impersonal. And, like, I think it is interesting that Millard would be focused on, like, keeping violence personal in a way that I think a lot of military fiction is very interested in.
So before we get to the next sequences, all kind of just lead into each other. We can talk about the specifics. Newman is pretty cool in this escape sequence, but we need to talk about the Sharon of it all. Nico, I yield the floor. Please tell me about Sharon and why she gets to where she's at.
I mean, I feel like I've said it. It's okay. This, like, she was given the neurological chip by Marge, as Alice pointed out, a man named Marge. Anyway, so this missing piece of AI has been completed for her and for the military program that powers the Ghost. And it's been completed through a combination of this chip and then the imprint of Myung, is how I read it. It's the imprint of this, and specifically Myung at, like, an extremely bad time in her life, which I feel like informs everything that happens from here on out. But Sharon has become fixated on the triangle, but specifically she's become fixated on Isamu. It's interesting. It's like, it's trying to say something, I feel, about, like, being attracted to the least emotionally available person, because Gold is ready to, like, lock this down, and Isamu isn't. And so I feel like there's this tension in Myung where she's going to go for one of them. Isamu is almost a more tempting target because there's a chase there, in a sense. And, like, all of that conflict, all of that shit is wrapped up inside Sharon, and Sharon is getting more and more powerful. And so she starts contriving a situation to put Myung and these two men in a collision course, specifically because she's saying, like, this will satisfy something in Isamu's character. Isamu isn't happy unless his life is on the line. And she's like, I can create the situation that will make him happier than anyone. I can make him happier than anyone. And it's just fucked. Like, she gets Myung in there. There is a, are we specifically talking about the cable scene?
Not yet. I just want to say, The entire concept of Sharon deciding that she can be a better Miyu than Miyu is very great.
Yeah.
In the popular movie I, Robot, they talk about how AI can't have self-preservation because then it would put it in conflict. And it's mentioned in here that the reason they don't want to use biochips is because it will instill self-preservation.
I love that element. That element.
It's a great line drop.
The thing about robots, fundamentally, is that often in stories they're being created to replace a slave class. Like, okay, we need a workforce that does not demand payment for its labor. We'll do some of our worst jobs. We'll take over indiscriminate killing, perhaps. We need a workforce that can't complain and won't push back. And we can put that onto robots, and that's more ethical than slavery, thankfully. And so then you move to this situation when you start giving robots any kind of self-determination or or consciousness. Congrats, you created another slave class. And like, this whole situation that has been created where they're like, you cannot let her be that human because she will not serve. She will fight back, basically, to preserve her own life. And what we see throughout the story is not just her fighting to preserve her own life, though at the end, that's more of an element, but fighting for what she wants.
Yeah, that's such an important point.
And like her right to exist as a person, which she's kind of been like, if Myung's here, I can't be a real person. I'll always be a copy of you. So like, that's just so interesting to me.
And then we don't have to talk about the scene that I love the most in all of this, which is the bondage scene.
We could talk about it. Fucking Sharon gets all her cables out. And my favorite part about cabling, like everybody who handles cables knows, they're all fully articulated is my favorite part. And so if you have a rogue AI situation, all of your cables, which again are fully articulated, can be used as like Doc Ock tentacles to grab just like whoever.
What I do like about this just visually is that the imagery we see when Myung is in control of Sharon is like puppet related. And then this imagery is also really, really puppet related. Now, did we need the full 3 seconds of it squeezing her tits? Probably not, but
we did need the central dogma putting her in the cross.
That was very
critical.
funny.
That was very funny. This is technically the next episode. I don't understand how she gets free.
So I know how.
Okay.
The AI that was controlling those wires was then implanted in the ghost. So when the ghost launched, that part of the AI left. The part that wanted to kill her. The rest of it is still inside of the Macross SDF-1, but that's why it lets her go, is she
gets saved by the launch. Yeah.
Yeah, by the way, if you're not familiar with Macross at all, the final climax of this happens in Macross City, which is where the Super Dimension Fortress Macross landed at the end of the show. It's a robot. The city's a robot. It's so cool.
Crazy
It's
cool.
one of the
It's
coolest things I've ever
literally
fucking seen.
They have built the city around it.
Yeah.
On Earth because this is the center of the Macross government.
This is my shit.
Yeah.
Fuck
so
me.
fucking good.
And Sharon, of course, because they've installed her throughout all of this and she has more autonomy than they ever planned on, starts taking it over. And can I just say, the visual of the huge holographic Sharon over the fucked up, hyper-greebled military mech, like, oh, that looks so fucking cool. It's just
so cool.
whips.
One thing, so episode 4, one thing I really love about episode 4 is it is just the story of these three. I mean, Newman's there and the creeper Marge is there, but it's really about those three and Sharon. Everyone else is taken out of the picture.
Question about Marge.
Yeah.
Did we witness him like commit suicide by like throwing himself into the...
Yes.
Like okay. I was like, what happened?
So he is on a part of the outside of the Super Defense Fortress. And as it's launching, he throws himself down to a vision of Sharon. Sharon kills him by tempting him to come in because she's got what she needs.
And critical support for Sharon.
Critical support for Sharon in this moment. That's a win. Yoko Kanno is absolutely working for a paycheck of all time in this fucking.
Yeah,
oh
she's
my
going
god.
for the gods.
Yeah.
This whole fucking thing is so banger. So they get to Earth. They get past the defense satellites. There's an awesome re-entry sequence. There's a chase.
Oh, it's so so good.
Gold hides in space trash and then bursts out of it. It's like, hell yeah, dude.
So Gold is chasing him down because we can't let them ruin this ceremony because it'll make us look bad. But Millard knows that he's sending them there for another reason. They're going there to fight the ghost to show that real pilots are still better, and just happen to be there when Sharon is taking over Macross City and putting everybody into hypnosis.
Yeah, she has deployed the gas, and by the gas I mean the music.
The music cue of the fact that the ghost is also playing the music as it advances on them is like, I could not sit down. I was like standing through this whole, I was like cheering with my fucking hands over my head. Oh my God, it was so good.
We get the last fight between Gold and Isamu. I don't know. He's a nothing burger. Fuck him.
Okay, yeah, that's fair, I guess.
But they have their last little fight. Gold thinks he killed him and opens up the trauma door.
Gold unlocks, instead of like going to therapy and working on this over like 5 years, he unlocks it right now by murdering, to his mind, his childhood friend.
So the answer to everything was that actually he was the one who punched
who tore Myung's
her shirt
all
off.
open.
Yeah.
We do get this really cool scene where they remember their times growing up with planes in high school that they did for a project, and he did the petasaur swoop, which is where, hey guys, if you cut your engine in your plane and then drop and glide with that, it's a petasaur swoop. That's
beautiful.
You mean a pterosaur?
Is that how you pronounce that?
Yeah, you don't pronounce the P.
Oh boy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I love this. I love bros being bros. I love
That's what I was gonna say. I have never so quickly gone from I hate men to oh my God, it's the boys. When they're arguing over their when they're arguing over their CDs and shit, it's just so good. I loved it.
Could gay sex have saved them? Like
the part I love that just says everything about their characters entirely is Isamu is like, I bought you lunch 2 times in high school.
Yeah.
And Gold comes back and says, I bought you lunch 11 times. And Izumu says, you kept count?
Which just,
so good.
Yeah, their energies at this last moment are so good that I'm like, look how they slaughtered my boy, literally. I hate what happens to Gold.
Gold says,
anyway.
I'm going to take the ghost on. You need to go save Miyu. He realizes that Miyu needs to be saved and not by him. We have a really cool dogfight between the two. And then...
Gold releases the limiters.
Literally. He releases the limiters.
It is kind of fucked what happens here in a cool way.
Why does releasing the limiters unlock the ability to just fly your jet into the other jet?
No. So here's the thing. The ghost is moving faster than any human or like physical pilot could do because of G-forces, right? Like the ghost is only limited by what the hardware can withstand, whereas Isamu and Gold are limited by what their bodies can withstand. Like there's a moment during the re-entry where Newman basically puts himself to sleep so he doesn't have to endure the G-forces of re-entry, because like, I don't know how much you know about this. You can throw up, you can pass out. Like you might as well just black yourself out so that you don't like piss and shit your pants, you know? Like, G-forces are extreme. And so basically what happens with Gold, he takes the limiters off so he can keep pace with the ghost. And at the end, you know, he flies his ship into it, but he's also crushed by the G-forces.
Yeah, that's fair.
In a way that is just, like, horrifying.
I hate this. I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that Gold dies. I hate that it's like so hammy, and I also hate that the ghost has like 3 seconds of screen time. It's super cool. It's cherry red. It never transforms. It never really does anything cool. I was so disappointed by this.
We were kind of robbed,
especially after the great intro it had, where I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be a banger of a fight."
But then Sharon says, "Wait." I have Macross, and then we're back. I'm back.
Yeah, and then
I'm
we're so
100%
back.
Yeah.
Miyu has a Die Hard scene. That's it.
Yeah,
I love this.
It's so good. She gets out of the cables and she rips off her fucked up blazer to reveal her tank top. And that's when you know she's barefoot. She's kicked off her heels. She's in the tank top. There's broken glass because she's outrunning these cops. And
ACAB includes the cops in Macross.
Oh,
yes.
ACAB includes Macross. No, But like, she outruns these cops who are just gonna straight up shoot her, and one of their machine guns ends up in the elevator with her with the broken glass. And when she picked up that machine gun, I was like, "Yo!"
I also
Let's
cheered
go.
and screamed. She is literally like having her own action movie plot while the fucking dogfight is happening. It's so good.
And I'm grateful because I didn't love the whole like. I will say I don't love her situation in the resolution of this show where she's just kind of on the ground. So I liked that she had this moment to actually be doing shit. So
Yeah, she's actioning, she's doing things. She realizes that she needs to kill Sharon.
she's got to turn off. She's got to get the manual override. I'm always saying this. You cannot make an AI without a manual override because somebody's got to get to an extremely improbable part of your base and traverse some like weird physical dangers to get to your manual override. Yes.
And then also while this is happening, R.I.P. Newman, you weren't that cool, but this was a really neat way to die, and R.I.P.
I love this where so we see that she can control people and she gets into the cockpit and uses her mind control to get him to try and shoot Izamu in the head, but obviously doesn't want to actually shoot him because the danger is what she wants to give. And then he just
clips
ejects
his helmet
Newman.
and breaks it, and he ejects Newman, which is so funny.
It's so funny. And then she tries to get him too, but guess who saves the day? Singing from a real art from a real human.
Lay on the floor.
It warms the heart. It warms the soul.
Hears it, and it's why he can. So Sharon takes over Macross, launches it into the air, which we talked about, and it is just shooting all of its point defense weapons up in the air, all to just create a situation in which he can jump around and dodge and be a hero and be on the brink of
For him to
death.
reach his ultimate potential and his ultimate happiness, which just like...
By the way, I love the way Macross looks in this. I love the sequence of it lifting up over the air. It's schlocky, but for some reason I love that it never does anything but be a static painting. It is never animated. It is literally just dragging and like scrolling up into the sky. It is always a painting. It's so funny. I love it so much.
I love the militarism of it all, where he goes past the bridge to see like, did somebody take over Macross? And they're all just passed out in the bridge, just like catatonic. And then like they're trying to figure out where the core is and what to blow up. And then Sharon tries to shoot, Miyu tries to shoot Sharon with some of the most realistic machine gun recoil control I've ever seen.
Good.
Me firing a gun at any point. It takes her 70% of the clip to actually get it to actually point at Sharon.
It's really good.
I've showed you guys the video of me shooting the submachine gun, right?
I think so.
I think
I've
so?
seen you shooting
Okay.
a gun.
So I've shot a couple of like full machine guns, and like one of the hard parts is the pull up as you're shooting, and like it also you get something called finger lock, where if you're an amateur shooter and you're holding down a trigger, your finger will just lock in because you're focusing on controlling the weapon, and it's so realistic. But also, spoiler: Sharon's core is in a hardened metal casing.
I simply would not make my AI out of anything but fucking unobtainium. So, like, correct. Like, simply, I would not put an AI core in some plastic. So, this is correct.
How do you feel about naked Sharon Apple embracing Miyu?
I love women.
I love women.
I love women. I love her coming to terms. Yeah.
Every image of Sharon superimposed, ghosting into the cockpit, her different versions, like, it all looks so cool. I'm a huge fan of the, like, digital ghost AI. This was hitting for me. It was all just, like, working.
I might need to like look up and give credit to this person, but I also should shout out Giant Robot FM is releasing a zine on Macross Plus.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, just the timeline didn't work out. I would hype it to go get one. It's too late to get one at this point. Definitely by the time we're releasing, but even by the time we're recording, it's too late to get one. I just want to shout out, I need to know who did the art. They credited them. I'll have to find it at some point. The artwork for the cover of the Macross Plus zine is Sharon. and she's like standing ominously on the cover, and then she has earrings, and one earring is the YF-19 and the other earring is the YF-21. It's so good.
So good. Oh my god.
Yeah,
Iconic.
it's really, really good. So anyway, just to shout that
I'm pretty
out.
sure you can get digital versions of their zines if you jump on the Patreon. So even if you can't get the physical run, which I would have wanted, just to shout out our older sister podcast.
Yeah.
Older brother podcast, our Oni-chan podcast.
Oni-sama podcast.
Oni-sama podcast. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, PMC.
You've already done irreparable harm to them.
So he blows up Sharon's core, and I really like the scene where he's in the cockpit floating in the front and sees her on the floor. I don't know. It's
good.
It made me
It's
cry.
really good.
But we end with him having destroyed the core. The Macross crashes back into Lake Macross, and we have a beautiful morning sun as we fade to credits. To all you future pioneers, et cetera, et cetera. How did you all feel about this ending?
Yeah, it was pretty much what I expected.
Yeah.
It's literally the end of iRobot. It's the end of any story where there's an evil machine. We destroy it, and then you get the girl. I did like at the end, there wasn't a specific, wow, he got the girl. There was just kind of they interact and then they part, because I would have felt like that was a huge insult to Gold if they literally were wow, and now they get to be together now that all obstacles are gone, because that would kind of imply he was an obstacle.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I guess I will say the fact, the ending does get a few dings for the fact that Gold's not there. I just hate that he died. It sucks.
Well, yeah. So I want to talk about other things that I think have been influenced this. Specifically, Hathaway's Flash is just Macross Plus, down to Gigi just being Mew. It's very obvious, although the AI isn't there of it all. There are many other things that kind of follow this in the, the trope of the mecha triangle. I just really enjoy the way that they did it in Macross Plus. But what were your guys' overall thoughts on Macross Plus? Now that we've talked through it beat by beat, what did you think of this?
I really, really liked this. I had a great time with this. I watched it yesterday all the way through, and I was kind of feeling bogged down a little bit. I was thinking maybe I should have spread it out a little bit more, because I was kind of, I don't know, there was a mental block about the length of it. But then by the end of episode 2, I couldn't stop watching anyway. So I had a really, really good time with this one. When we get into mech ratings, we'll talk about the dissonance there, but as a piece of media, this really, really surprised me. I had a great time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it is one of those ones, and I think as I was going through planning my rewatch, even the first time I watched it in one setting, but I really don't think you can space this out in your viewing. It lends itself to being watched in one sitting completely.
Mm-hmm.
It is just a movie, even if it was released as an OVA. Nico, what were your overall thoughts on Macross Plus?
Yeah, so the story for me was really uneven. There were a lot of things that were frustrating, and then there were moments where I was oh, I really like this. I was up and down on the story, but it was a visual feast. It was an auditory feast. It is, just as a piece of art, it is absolutely incredible. And so, I can forgive a lot of sins for the fact that, this is just a gorgeous piece of work, and a lot of incredible mech space people were involved in it, and it shows. And I feel like there was a disconnect for me and the emotional, we've talked about this before, I'm queer, a lot of this story clanged for me, but also it had a story writer and they wrote the hell out of it. They really, for what their plot was as far as a love triangle, they did actually write the hell out of it, and there was some nuance to it. It wasn't just choose between the blonde boy and the brunette boy. There were a lot of lifestyle, emotional thinking, personality dissonances that they had to kind of work with. And I did appreciate the freight of the past and Myung having to deal with it.
Lala, Amuro, Char, Gold, Izamu, Myung, Coughing Baby versus Hydrogen Bomb.
Yeah, this in 4 episodes to paint this dynamic so vividly, for all that I was frustrated with it, I have to give it respect. So this was really cool. I'm glad I got to experience it.
So something that I want to talk about with Macross is Macross has a lot of issues with being released overseas because media rights, music rights, and the licensing
Copyright
that goes
is a prison,
it.
and yet it may be our only defense against large language models. Yes, we know.
If there's a reason you can't legally watch Macross Delta, which viewers who have seen Macross Delta will know just by who I am as a person that that's my favorite of the Macross series.
I'm afraid of what this means. Okay.
But I do want to give one shout out, which is what also kind of wanted me to cover this as part of the Macross, is we are getting this year in September the Macross Plus Ultimate Edition being released, which comes with a 184-page artwork book and just a lot of media. I'll be picking this up because this is very important to me.
I'm going to visit Alice to lovingly touch pictures of Sharon Apple.
I looked at literally one image of Macross Delta and knew exactly why Alice liked it.
I want you to show that image to Nico, just so that... also so I can put it on the website.
I'll post it.
This is why Alice likes it.
Just immediately, it makes perfect sense to me.
Oh, God, yep, exactly. Okay, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a reason. Yeah.
I'll give a hint to the listeners. Girls.
I love
I won't
idols.
say women. I will say girls.
Yeah. Not women, girls.
So, we had a lot of fun on the planet of Eden. We had a lot of fun going through the Supernova contest, but there's something that we need to get to.
Sorry.
Oh.
I just opened the Blu-ray set and the Sharon Apple concert poster's probably gonna kill me. Oh my God.
Honestly, Brian, I love you. Could you make one of those for us and then print it and I'll pay you money?
Yeah. You don't have to pay me money.
The Sharon Apple concert poster.
So
That's incredible. Anyway, sorry, Alice. We gotta do something.
We gotta do something. Very important, you know? We've got to install our biochips, we've got to get some self-preservation, and we got to rate these goddamn mechs. So I'll defer first to Brian.
Yeah, I had a hard time rating this one because I liked Macross Plus so much, but when I really sat back, these mechs didn't really hit that good for me. I will say seeing Macross move at the very end, definitely, it was going to be a firm 6 all the way through. Seeing Macross move at the end was definitely rocked it up. I was thinking an 8, and then I sat on it, I slept on it, and I was like, you know what? I have got to subtract something for the fact that we never see anything cool with the ghost, so it's a 7 for me.
Very valid, very valid.
But just to speak in detail, I love robots that transform. I think the transformation sequences look cool. It will always hit for me the more projectiles you put on the screen at the same time. I loved it so much. So I just have to shout out, like, the mech combat in this is like nearly unmatched to anything we've seen so far, I think.
So real. Nico, what about you?
Well, so I struggled with this one too, right? Because, I don't like transforming mechs. I don't. I've never been into anything that's a vehicle and then it becomes a mech. I don't care. But one, this was so lovingly animated. Like, you cannot but respect the game because this was so incredibly executed. And I also really love neural interfaces. Like, I really liked Gold's fighter specifically because, again, I loved he was assuming the meditation pose, but you would still see in the cockpit the machinery was moving under his thought direction. Like, I loved that aspect of it, that the manual was still there, but he was moving it with his mind. I loved that interface, and I loved the breakdown when he got emotional. I liked that a lot, and honestly, I will say for Gold, I'm sorry that you were racialized, but I do like that it's not just, like, a woman who's having an emotional breakdown and it affecting technology. Like, shout-outs to the first man to experience misogyny. No, I'm kidding. It's just racism. But I liked that interface, and I especially I do think Sharon Apple is a mech. Like, I like that she has an embodiment, but she is also directed. I loved specifically the puppet string imagery and how it's executed through, like, neural interface, but also literally later through, like, hardwire. I liked a lot of that stuff, and for me, that helped a lot with the fact that, like, I don't give a shit about fighter planes. So for me, I came out, like, pretty neutral on this. I came out of 5. I think it's incredibly well animated. I think it's a beautiful show. I really like everything going on with Sharon, but I just, like, don't give that much of a shit about fighter planes.
Very nice.
All right, Alice, tell me how much you love fighter planes.
I give so much of a shit about fighter planes. So we've talked about this before in that my criteria for mech, honestly, like I consider fighter planes as mecha in a sort of way, and it's because of Macross. I grew up with Macross, so I like this. I do think that there being only really 2 mecha kind of hurts it, and I know we can't really like always judge thing on quantity versus quality, but the quality here it's good. I love the YF-19 so much, and the YF-21 to a lesser degree. I love the transformation. I love how it looks as a mech. There's the specific fight when they're in training and they're just fist fighting in the 2 mechs. There's a scene where he like is beating him with the training gun. Is just like a cool use
Newman
of like
at that moment, because Newman's like, why the fuck are we even using dummy rounds if they're just gonna beat each other to death? I love that.
I love the cockpit, but it's just a fighter cockpit. And when I think of like the mecha of it all, what does this do that is mecha is very solid and very good. I don't think it's the main thing, but I also think one of my favorite parts of mecha is the story of the pilots, and this is a very good story of pilots. I'm using very good in the like, I know it's bad writing, but I enjoyed it a lot.
No, I do also think that this is a good writing of pilots. Like, it's just not 100% for me here, you know?
But I also, every time the YF-19 was on screen, I was screaming. I was in love with it. And I did order a Gunpla kit before I finished my rewatch of the YF-19, and I have the YF-21 in my cart. Yes, they do transform.
Do they have a Sharon Apple?
No, she's a hologram, idiot.
I would put that box together. Hold on. I would put that box together and I would put a dress on it.
Yeah. Anyway.
I was Googling for the box Gunpla.
Alice immediately like, can I acquire this for my friends? Alice, what's your rating?
For me, this isn't the greatest, but the YF-19 and the YF-21 are very iconic for me in mecha, and I loved how this was a very mecha story. They're an 8 for me, dog. So that's going to be our scores.
The ship name for Gold and Isamu is the YF-29.
That's pretty good, actually.
That's beautiful.
And with that, we'll head to our Boys Love break. We'll be right back. Hey guys, Alice here. Thanks for listening to On the Shoulders of Giants. We're really happy you're here, but if you know anybody who might be interested, we'd love if you share our work with them. If you are enjoying what we're doing, maybe send us a message, or what would really help us out is if you leave a review online. Really, a lot of the algorithms will push people down if they don't have reviews, so it really helps if you just go and write something on the internet. Heck, we might even read one on the podcast if it's really nice and makes our hearts go doki doki. So if you could do that, maybe do it, and thanks again for listening. Now, back to the show. Welcome back from the break. It's time for a game. This game is called Planes, Mains, and Nijigasaki High School Idol Club.
Okay. I'm afraid.
I'm deeply afraid.
Macross is known for bringing a realistic twist on the iconic transforming mecha genre, bringing high-octane 80s military accelerationism and cool-ass fighter planes into the mecha fold. The trickle-down effects of this can be seen across modern mecha. Other most iconic part of the entire Macross series is the music, specifically idol culture and idol singers that we can find in it. Safe to say that Macross helped to elevate the Annie song genre, and its musical tones can be felt throughout the industry to this day. So, here's what's gonna happen. I'm going to quiz you on Annie songs. My apologies to the listeners. To see if you can identify the OG Macross songs or the music that it inspired in modern anime. But, to make this a little more defined and not just all of the genre of Annie music, I've decided to keep this pool limited. I'm keeping it to Planes, Mains, and Nijigasaki High School Idol Club.
Question.
This is a planes, trains, and automobile jokes.
Yes.
Please laugh.
We did get that.
Please laugh.
The question is, what does mains mean?
Thank you for asking. Planes, being Macross, Mains being Uma Musume Pretty Derby. That's the one where the horse girls are also Okay, Brian, let me explain the concept of this. So they're horse girls in a horse high school. They're all named after actual famous horses. They compete in horse running competitions. It's just girls running. And then the top 3 get to perform an idol performance as the podium. So they do a run, and the top 3 get to perform as the center and
Wait,
the two
so are
sides.
they girls or are they horses?
They're girls with horse elements. They have the ears and the tails.
Okay. Hey, this is wretched.
I have great news.
Is it too late for us to switch to Hatoful Boyfriend?
No. But great news, this is now coming to America for the first time this year. They just announced it. This was a Japan-only game.
Oh, I'm glad we're on the cutting edge of whatever the fuck this is.
And then Nijigasaki High School Idol Club is from Love Live Nijigasaki High School Idol Club. That's the one with the robot face girl. That's why I chose that one out of all of the 3.
Brian died.
Alice put this game on Macross Plus so that I could have a transient artistic experience, then have to do this.
Yeah, do you ever get really inspired and then Alice is like, ha, chump, and hits you with a big mallet?
Is anime good, actually? Alice, here's this one about horse girls.
Hey, Brian, I don't know anything about this except that somebody posted on Tumblr that they have dedicated lanes of the roadways for the horse girls to run. Like bike lane.
To be clear,
Wait, hold on. Are we back? That's sick, actually.
I just need to be very clear. This isn't a world in which there are other anime girls who are creatures. Only horse girls exist. It is the regular world plus horse girls.
It's part of infrastructure. There was a boring as fuck town hall meeting about the repainting of the roads for horse girls after their struggle for rights in the 70s. Like, that is the world presented to us.
Critical horse theory.
Critical horse theory. Diversity.
Equity. Equinity.
No!
These are jokes for no one, and I hate us. Okay, so here's how this is gonna work. I am going to play for you, over audio, clips of songs. You will have to tell me if this clip is from a Macross song, a Pretty Derby song, or a Nijigasaki Love Live song. Now, to be clear, this is from all Macross, so not just the one we watched, just so you know, okay? Here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a specter haunting Macross Plus, and there's a specter haunting this game. In this series of songs, AI has infiltrated. One of the songs you are going to hear is sung by an AI VTuber.
Jesus Christ.
I'm not going to tell you when this is coming up. It's worth triple points if you guess it as the AI song. There's only one, but one of these was made by an AI VTuber. So keep that in mind. All right, ready to play?
Yes. Sorry, I was briefly plunged into depression.
Yeah.
I love artificial general intelligence. I hate. Anyway, continue.
We're going to start with Brian. Ready, Brian? Oh,
yeah.
And chances to steal, usual rules apply in the pick 3. All right, here's your first clip. All right, Brian.
First of all, banger. I'm just kidding.
Is that from Macross, Love Live, Pretty Derby?
I'm thinking, I think it's too fast for Love Live, so I'm going to say Pretty Derby.
Nico, you have a chance to steal.
I think this is from Love Live because this has a lot of tapping the screen energy.
Tapping the screen energy. Who has a pin? I do.
Who has a pin? Like I was gonna hand you one?
You're both wrong. That is from Macross Delta, Ikanai Borderline.
Well, that makes sense having seen the art that you posted of it.
Yep. Yep.
There's a mommy with glasses in that art. I kind of want to watch Macross Delta. Is it like actually good, or does it just have girls?
I think it's good, but I don't know what that means to you. So
okay.
All right, let's head to the next one. Okay, Nico, here's your clip. All right, Nico, what's that from?
Love Live.
That is correct.
Yep, I knew it. I felt the energy.
Damn, I don't know the energy of either of the other things other than Macross.
One of my dearest friends in college, Noelle, shout out to Noelle, fantastic video game producer.
Shout out to Noelle.
She loves or loved at the time Love Live, and so every once in a while she would just be playing it and like, listen to this music, isn't this music good? And it was pretty good. So I have heard a certain amount of Love Live by proxy. Thank you, Noelle.
That one is from Love Live. That is Supernova. All right, Brian, back to you. Here is your next clip. All right, Brian. What's that one from?
Haruhi Suzumiya. No. That's from Pretty Derby.
That is correct.
Yes.
No,
That is,
nice.
Find My Only Way from Pretty Derby.
You felt the horse energy.
Thought I would get you that one.
It had cute high school energy.
It smelled like hay.
And smelled like hay. And smelled like mane and tail.
Oh my god. All right, Nico, back to you.
Mm-hmm.
What's that one from?
Is this Macross?
That is from Macross Delta, Giraffe Blues.
Okay.
Correct.
Damn, they were really high up singing that one. They had to get the mic really up there.
God damn it.
Shut the fuck up!
All right, back to Brian. Brian, what's that one from?
I like how some of these sound kind of good, and some of these I'm just like blinking through it. Like,
Yep.
This is Love Live, I'm guessing.
That is correct. That is Beautiful Moonlight.
Hell yeah,
from Love
I'm so
Live.
good at vibes. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
No, but like Love Live has this like almost busy energy to it. Like you can hear there are so many layers of audio in there with different electronic and then looped like real instruments. That's what I've been reading off of it. It's just it's a busy kind of genre.
You think you're putting more into Love Live than the producers of Love Live. Anyway, I will say the problem with Love Live is it's unit based, so there's like 9 girls, so I had to find songs where it wasn't all 9 of them singing because it's so blatantly obvious. Back to Nico. What's that one from?
I think this is Pretty Derby.
That is wrong.
Oh.
Brian, is this from Macross or Love Live?
Macross?
That's correct. This is from Macross Frontier. Good job.
I heard
Good
the word
job.
cavalry, and so I was kind of like, is this horse themed?
Is this horse themed?
I'm going to be asking myself that anytime I hear music from now on.
Oh my god.
Before you listen to a song, ask yourself, is this true? Is this necessary? Is this horse
Is this
themed?
horse themed?
Jesus Christ. All right, back to Brian. Here's your next clip.
I hate it when they sound like literal babies. This is Pretty Derby.
That is wrong, actually.
Damn.
Nico.
Is this the AI?
This is the AI
I
one.
knew it! It's too cutesy. It's too baby.
Too baby. This is Neurosama, version 3, singing Snowhalation.
That is honestly a horrifying name.
Neurosama?
I'm going to say it right now, and I know you hear this from me a lot.
Yeah.
You gotta MILF that thing. You gotta MILF it. That is a baby. If you want an
hear
AI to
this?
be sexy to me, you gotta MILF that
That's
thing.
the first OSG merch.
You hear this from me a lot. You gotta MILF that
MILF
thing.
that thing.
You gotta MILF that thing on a shirt with the boss on it.
On a shirt with the boss and Big Mama.
Yeah.
Back to Nico. Here's your next clip. What's that one from?
I think Macross. I don't think anything else goes that hard.
That is actually incorrect.
Oh shit!
Brian, is this Pretty Derby or is this Love Live?
Is this Love Live?
Incorrect. This is from Uma Pretty Derby. This is the Super Strong S.
Why did Pretty Derby go hard?
Hit me with that clip again real quick.
Yeah.
shonen anime opening.
This is a woman with some years in her voice.
So to give you a concept, the voice, so many of these idol shows, the voice actresses are also the singers and performers. They do the same thing. This is a subunit of their older members, and they mostly do heavy metal.
Hell yeah. Okay. Not to just literally quote Brian, but are we back?
So bad. Brings us back to Brian. Your next one.
私と向き合うことずっとずっと怖かったけど
Brian, what's that from?
Macross?
That is wrong.
Oh.
Nico, you have a chance to steal again.
Love Live?
That is from Love Life. That is Solitude Rain from
Busy.
Love Life.
You see what I mean? It's busy.
It didn't sound that busy. That was what I was looking for. Oh.
It sounds as busy
yeah.
as a
Maybe I'm
Macross
just
Delta
bad at
song.
listening to music.
No, you're Brian, your musical taste is so much better than mine. Don't say this.
You just note it instantly tune out this trash. Nico, back to you.
Yes.
してかなメランコリー頭はもうクラクラけれど
Nico, what's that from?
Is it from Pretty Derby?
It is!
Yeah.
It's Ring Ring from Pretty Derby. I tried to choose it because it sounds like some of the Macross ballads, but
Yeah, but it sounded like, I don't know. It didn't have that energy. It didn't have soul.
I get you. I will say, so as part of this, I had to download, so I tried to do the Spotify thing, didn't work. I downloaded the OSTs of all of these in their entirety illegally and was trying to go through. Oh my God, all the Macross OSTs are just Showa era ballads. And I was like struggling to find ones that sounded like modern idol music.
Showa era whips.
Unfortunately, you know what time it is. It's time for a bonus round. So I'm going to play this one to both of you. Whoever buzzes in first, rules are you have to say your name, Nico. That one's targeted at you. And this one is worth 5 points. So here is your last clip for this segment.
キュンキュンキュンキュン私の殻はファイロー
I'll play it again.
キュンキュンキュンキュン私の殻はファイロー
Thanks.
Brian, I'm gonna say Love Live.
Brian, that is wrong.
Damn.
Nico, do you need to hear it a third time? Okay.
No, I'm good. No.
キュンキュンキュンキュン私の殻はファイロー
Waterboarded with anime music.
Nico, I think this is Macross.
That is Macross, I'm in love with a pilot, or Watashi no Karawa pilot.
Yeah.
Which you did hear during the karaoke segment.
There's this weird floppy kind of like electric music at the beginning, and I'm like, that was my only clue. Cause Kyun shit could have been in any of this.
Kyun, Watashi, bow, bow, bow.
Okay, Brian, clip that.
That's our new intro song.
In lieu of a letter, there's one other thing I wanted to show you guys. Macross Plus was released, and much like many other things at the time, there was a tie-in video game. I'm gonna make you watch the trailer for it.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
This is just Armored Core.
Yeah, this is like Armored Core 1, but shinier. Honestly, if I could play Armored Core 1 while Yoko Kanno sung at me, that's not a bad experience.
I would play this.
Check out those transformations.
That actually looked awesome, I can't lie.
Just watching the PlayStation chug trying to do it, though, is very funny.
Honestly, this kind of looks awesome.
Anyway, there's a bunch of different clips from the movie in it because it's a movie adaptation, but I just wanted to force you people to see that too, because
hey, that's reasonable.
We probably won't cover that game because we watched the movie. But what a little freak. I think this is now the time we should probably say, hey, we've been doing this for a year. This is gonna be our year-long episode.
This is our
drop.
anniversary episode, by the way. We forgot to mention anything about it in the last 2 hours.
By the way, this is our anniversary episode.
Hey, everybody.
We're renewing our vows. with Macross Plus.
No, we didn't say it. We definitely chose Macross Plus also partly because we started with a Kawamori project and we wanted to kind of honor that with another one.
And I think we found a good one
We did.
to do so. But guys, it's been a year. How do you both feel about our little thingamajigger?
Not to be, I mean, I'm not gay, but this is like the proudest I've ever been of anything in my life. So just to be heterosexual about it.
Yeah, just to make sure that everyone knows that we're heterosexual Christian women. All of us, even Brian.
Yeah.
I'm transing Brian real quick. This is what they call force femme.
Yeah?
God, I just said a whole bunch of horrible words. I'll echo Brian and say, like, this is one of the projects that I'm most proud to have been part of. I've learned so much from this, and it has given structured meaning to my life over the last year. So thanks, Alice, for sending us a pitch.
It's giving structure. Yeah.
It's giving structure.
Giving structure.
Thank you, Alice, for sending us a pitch document last year. It has been a genuine joy.
Alice, you changed all three of our lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I wrote a speech. No, what I do want to say is this journey isn't a journey that just the three of us have taken. We've been friends for a long time. On again, off again, mostly on again.
You gotta stop saying that.
But I really think this has been a fun experience. It's something all three of us have wanted to do. All of us love mechs, and I've seen so many different mechs. I read a book. I read 2 books this year.
You read 3
for this
books.
podcast. What was the 3rd book?
Well, you didn't read 3 books this year, but you have read potentially 4 books in the course of the show, and I'm so proud of you.
Hard reboot, All You Need Is Kill, Iron Widow. What's the 4th one?
Okay,
Mazinger?
you might have only read 3 books, but I'm still proud of you.
I read more books, guys.
No, Alice only reads when I make her.
But I found myself being very shoehorned into the media that I enjoy. We, in a society that is over inundated with media to consume, I think it's easy for me to put off things. And we'll hear in the next year, because we have some coming up, that you guys are forcing me to even more flex muscles that I wouldn't want to flex or had to flex, and consume media that I would have skipped entirely. And I think it is giving
Alice
me a
listen to Friends at the Table. That's what Alice is getting at.
I'm alluding about how much I'm committed to this, but we'll get into that in the episode. But I do want to say this isn't a journey just the 3 of us have made. We could throw this into the void and be happy. I think the 3 of us would just feel happy if we just made the thing, tied the bow on it, and said, that looks nice. But we have a lot of very supportive friends, family members, lovers, who supported us through this and continue to support us through this stupid little thing. We have people in the space who have really engaged with us, and I don't want to use the word fans, because who would be a fan of such a piece of trash?
Hey, whoa, I'm proud of this thing. That's your stance.
We have listeners.
Yeah, we have listeners.
There are people that I recognize in our responses and who have written in, and people have pinged me directly that I might not have been the best of friends with, but it really is just nice to be a part of this with you guys and with the people who are there. And so this one's to the real ones who are here for year 1. If you're still here in year 5, you the OG, and you need to remember that. But also, I'm not gay. I'm not gay for you, but
I would like to say as an anniversary statement, I'm sorry about Price of Smiles. Anyway.
I'm not.
You have to listen to it. It's required listening, but I am sorry.
I'm not sorry about it.
But shout out to those who've been with us either from the beginning or joined us this year, and shout out to the next year of covering things from Price of Smiles to Pat Labor 2, from Iron Widow to, I'm trying to think of a garbage one Gundam Evo was this year. But yeah, this is our year anniversary, and we're gonna keep doing it, and thanks for the ride, you two. You can't quit. Sorry, contract says minimum 3 years. So
gotcha. I'm signed
it was
on.
pretty fucked when Alice held us at gunpoint and made us sign contracts, but it was also thematic, so I was down.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was Macross Plus and a bunch of feelings and emotions and our love triangle. Before one of us has to fly off and self-delete by taking out an autonomous drone, do you guys have any final thoughts on Macross Plus that you'd like to get out there?
Sharon Apple did nothing wrong.
I'm going to go listen to the Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex intro song 9 million times now. So.
Well, yeah, you got to do it to get the Kyun thing out of your head.
Yeah.
I'm in love with the pilot.
Oh, God. Worst decision you could make, as exemplified by this series.
Thanks for listening. Pilots, remember you can reach out for advice from the team at our email, questions@osgpod.com, and non-pilots can send general questions or feedback to the same address. You can also catch up with us on social media. Links are in the description for updates and more. Make sure to check back in 2 weeks when we'll be wrapping up the metal year with Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. Until then, goodbye. I love you, Pioneers.
I love you, but I love Isamu more.
Goodbye, I love you.